In our headlines on this Friday afternoon, May 26th. South Korea advances further into the final frontier as its rocket Nuri marks yet another successful launch into orbit Thursday evening, this time with 8 actual payloads. And communication has been established with at least 5 out of the 8 satellites, including the main payload, and officials believe communication with the remaining 3 will take place within the next few days. Meanwhile, South Korean delegates to neighboring Japan conclude their on-site survey of facilities in Fukushima, while officials here make public their inspection of seafood imported from Japan.
3, 2, 엔진 점화, 26, 우료가 발사되었습니다.
We start with the latest in Korea's space venture. Communication was established with Nuri's main satellite Thursday night, about an hour and a half after the spacecraft's launch into space. Do take a listen.
On the day of the launch, at around 7:58 yesterday, the initial communication with the next generation satellite 2 was successfully made at the first attempt, followed by 7 additional communications at dawn today. Also, we have checked and confirmed that the functions of the satellite, including the transmission and reception system, command and data processing system, and the power generation system of the solar panel are all operating normally.
Regarding the remaining satellites, Cho said communication had been made with 2 out of the 4 CUBE satellites developed by the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute and 2 out of the 3 CUBE satellites developed by startups. As for the other 3 satellites that have yet to respond, he linked the delay to their unique traits, forecasting communication within the next few days. And up next, for those of you who may have missed our live coverage of Nuri's shooting for the stars Thursday evening, my colleague Lee Kyung-eun recaps the historic moment. To take a look.
3, 2, 엔진 점화, 26.
Using South Korean technology by South Korean researchers and launching from South Korean soil, at 6:24 p.m. Thursday, South Korea's first homegrown space rocket, Nuri, blasted off from Naro Space Center at the country's southern tip. Following 2 test flights, Nuri this time took on its first actual mission to put 8 working satellites into orbit, which was key to determining the success of this flight. And 13 minutes and 3 seconds into the flight, Nuri reached its target altitude of 550 kilometers when it released the satellites at 20-second intervals.
South Korea's domestically developed spacecraft Nuri has successfully completed its 3rd launch with the support of the public.
The primary goal was sending the main satellite, the next generation small satellite 2, into an orbit where it could always make use of solar energy to operate in generating images of the Earth. That main satellite was confirmed to have successfully separated and be communicating with the ground. All the other CUBE satellites on board were subsequently separated, except for one whose status is still being verified. Yet it is a solid success.
We believe it is a success given that Nuri entered the target orbit and the main satellite was safely separated.
The milestone achievement came after Wednesday's initial launch was called off due to technical glitch in the software controlling the helium valve. But the next attempt was swiftly made with problems sorted while Nuri remained in position. That's different from the second launch when a hardware glitch caused a delay, prompting Nuri's transportation back to the assembly center. Thursday's launch was designed as South Korea's first attempt to launch a commercial satellite via domestically developed spacecraft. It is also the first time Hanwha Aerospace jointly manufactured the Nuri rocket. Hanwha Aerospace will lead 3 more launches by 2027, opening the era of South Korea's private-led space endeavors. With the success of the third launch, South Korea takes a step further to building more reliability and confidence in space launch vehicles or providing commercial services tailored for satellites. 이경은, 아리랑 뉴스, 고흥.
And Korea's latest achievement has been applauded by President Yoon Suk-yeol, who added that the country has now visibly proved its potential in advanced science and technology. To take a listen.
정말 벅차고 그리고 이 우주 과학이 모든 산업의 선도 역할을 하는 것인 만큼 이제 전 세계에서 우리 대한민국의 첨단 과학 기술을 바라보는 눈이 저는 이번에 확 바뀔 거라고 생각합니다.
President Yoon also predicted that Nuri's success will pave the path to partners seeking to actively work with Korea on space missions. Highlighting the delivery of functioning satellites into orbit, he also underscored that 3 out of the 8 satellites had been made by startups. Later on social media, the president urged the young to dream big as he seeks to make a country where their dreams come true. Korea's significant step further into the final frontier made international headlines as well. My colleague Peon Jae takes a look at the foreign media coverage of Nuri and its knock on space's door, if you will.
News outlets across the globe assess that Nuri's successful delivery of satellites into space marked a significant milestone in the country's space program. The Associated Press said the launch boosted South Korea's hopes of catching up with Asian neighbors, such as China, Japan, and India, in a regional space race. It also added that many experts say Thursday's launch will also help the country accumulate technologies needed to operate spy satellites and build long-range missiles. Reuters also called the success a breakthrough in South Korea's ambitions to compete in the space race with its Asian neighbors, and said Nuri is central to the country's ambitious plan to boost progress in 6G networks, spy satellites, and even lunar probes. Meanwhile, Bloomberg said that the mission shows South Korea has the ability to send satellites into orbit from a homegrown space vehicle, as previous launches used rockets from other countries. It also mentioned that Nuri is about 12 stories high, slightly smaller than France's Ariane 5 rocket. And France's international news agency AFP mentioned that more than 200,000 viewers watched the live stream of the launch on YouTube. Al Jazeera, the international news network of Qatar, also reported the 3-stage rocket is South Korea's first domestically built space launch vehicle, using only South Korean rocket technology, and that 3 more flights are expected by 2027. Peun, Arirang News.
Nuri's current success may also be traced back to the dedication of those who were at the Korea Aerospace Research Institute earlier on, and who also believe that Korea's advances in space technology will ultimately have broader global implications. Our Kim Jung-sil has more.
Former KARI president and veteran rocket scientist Dr. Choi Hyun-suk shared his feelings as he watched Nuri's successful third launch on Thursday evening.
As a person who, in a way, has planted the seeds for South Korea's liquid rocket engine development, I feel extremely elated and am very, very proud of the younger scientists.
Dr. Choi also expressed his hopes for the satellites that Nuri carried into space, saying the information they gather could play a key role in tackling environmental issues here on Earth.
These satellites will gather information through topographical observation, resource observation, as well as getting details on marine pollution. These new findings can then be sent to other countries that are suffering from environmental issues, which will be beneficial for the Earth's environment.
The former KARI chief also gave us his thoughts on what the future holds for South Korea's rocket science technology.
If I mention the already confirmed plans, from later this year, a space launch vehicle that's 2 or 3 times more competent than Nuri will start to be developed over the next 10 years. That space launch vehicle will have the capacity to send a spaceship that's around 5 tons in weight, or send one that's 1 ton, to Mars.
He said more exciting findings could be made in the future, helping solve some of the universe's untold mysteries. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, back at the site of Nuri's launch Thursday evening, families with young children gathered from different parts of the country to watch in person the start of a new chapter in Korea's space history. Our Shin Se-byuk spoke to some of them.
As the countdown began for Nuri, the excitement and anticipation in the Naro Space Center continued to build. This time, the atmosphere was filled with a renewed sense of enthusiasm after a delay the day before. People from different parts of the country came all the way down to the southernmost county of Gohung to witness history.
It was delayed by a day, but seeing it in person today brings even greater excitement.
We came here yesterday, and although the delay was disappointing, I believe that setbacks often pave the way for success. It's truly an honor to witness this moment.
An engineer involved in the development of the Nuri rocket was feeling a mix of anxiety and excitement.
This is the third launch attempt for us, and it hasn't been an easy journey. We faced difficulties in the previous 2 attempts, but I've seen countless encouraging comments online from the public. Our colleagues and engineers are giving their best, even at this very moment. I remain hopeful for a successful launch.
Teams of engineers, technicians, and support staff have been meticulously preparing for this momentous event. And the moment finally comes. Families and friends, young and old, all together celebrate the groundbreaking moment.
We traveled all the way from Daejeon to witness this lift-off. It's truly amazing to experience it together with my family.
The Nuri's blast-off is a milestone in the country's growing space program. And it is also a testament to the dedication of the engineers and the enthusiasm of the people. The soaring Nuri rocket has taken people's aspirations higher, which will reach new heights with each future mission. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News, Gohung.
Korea's on-site survey of facilities in Fukushima and related talks with Japanese officials as they prepare to discharge radioactive wastewater into the Pacific Ocean have come to an end. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
After their 2-day on-site inspection of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, South Korea's 21-member inspection team held a meeting with Japanese officials as part of their final itinerary on Thursday. One of the key things the team inspected was the plant's power supply to see how the facilities would cope with unexpected events such as earthquakes and tsunamis. They also requested any further information the Japanese officials could provide for them, as the South Korean side stressed that significant progress could be made in evaluating safety with as much information as possible made available. With the team returning to Korea on Friday, the head of the delegation, Yugo Ki, said that a comprehensive evaluation will be made after further analysis of their inspection, and the results will be announced as soon as possible. Despite the inspection, South Koreans are still very much concerned about the planned release of contaminated water stored at the facility and how it will impact seafood originating in Japan. While seafood from Fukushima is still banned, imports of Japanese fishery products from other regions are steadily increasing, with imports of scallops, sea bream, and pollock on the rise. The Ministry of Food and Drug Safety has been inspecting all fishery products coming in from Japan, with 5 cases in which trace amounts of radioactivity were detected and returned since 2011. While the South Korean government is doing all it can to reassure South Korean consumers through transparent inspections, concerns may rise even more once the wastewater is eventually released into the ocean. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, the presidential office here has firmly rejected a report by an American daily of potential ammunition aid to Ukraine from South Korea via the U.S. Our top office correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
Is South Korea changing its policy of only sending non-lethal aid to Ukraine? The presidential office says no, denying a Wall Street Journal report that a policy turnabout is already underway. In response to the US publication's claim that Seoul is proceeding with a confidential deal to supply Washington with hundreds of thousands of rounds of artillery that would end up in Ukraine. South Korean officials have been quick to insist that Seoul is not giving direct military support to Kyiv.
There are inaccuracies in the content of the report. As you know, the international community is providing support to keep peace and stability in Ukraine against Russia's illegal aggression.
The Defense Ministry spokesperson said he cannot discuss every single detail of Seoul's arms deal talks with Washington, but that the government will take appropriate measures upon reviewing the situation in Ukraine. Earlier media reports had said amid discussions on supporting Ukraine, South Korea was planning to lend 500,000 rounds of 155mm shells to the United States. But Seoul officials have been concerned that sending weapons or ammunition to Kyiv could antagonize Moscow. Russia last month threatened to deliver arms to North Korea as a quid pro quo if South Korea sent weapons to Ukraine. Those threats came after President Yoon suggested he may have to broaden support for Kyiv if Moscow commits large-scale atrocities or breaks the international rules of war. His office has since clarified that Seoul maintains its non-lethal mode of assistance. On Wednesday, Yoon's national security advisor Cho Tae-yong told lawmakers Seoul has until now sent humanitarian and financial assistance to Kyiv. There is no ammunition being sent to Ukraine directly or indirectly through Poland, he said, responding to a question about the possibility of sending arms via Poland or the US. A senior presidential aide to President Yoon told reporters Thursday that the top office has previously stated its position on support for Ukraine, and that position remains unchanged. It also claimed Japanese media reports that Yoon may visit Ukraine in July were inaccurate. After meeting Volodymyr Zelensky in Hiroshima on Sunday, the South Korean leader said Seoul would actively review delivering mine removal equipment and evacuation vehicles. Yoon's office says Kyiv only requested non-lethal aid last week when Zelensky's wife visited the South Korean leader as a special envoy to her husband. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
And authorities here are cautioning internet users to be wary of cyber attacks by North Koreans alleging to be managers of major websites such as Naver and Kakao. Our Itaeon explains.
North Korea appears to have been impersonating the managers of major South Korean portal websites as part of an organized email phishing scam. Statistics released by the National Intelligence Service on Thursday show that the sending of phishing email was Pyongyang's most common hacking method from 2020 to 2022, accounting for 74% of such attacks. 68% of the hacking emails were reportedly found to be impersonating South Korea's major websites, Naver and Kakao, followed by financial institutes and media and foreign affairs and national security institutes. North Korean cyber scammers would send fraudulent emails pretending to be website managers in the hope of making the user download malware or hack personal account information through those emails. They also sent emails saying there's a problem with the targeted user's account security, duping users into clicking links. Other hacking methods include attacking vulnerabilities in security software programs and luring a targeted group into infected dummy websites. The National Intelligence Service, after releasing the report, also introduced ways to avoid these email phishing scams. They suggested people check email icons as emails from website managers use different ones from hackers. Email addresses, too, are slightly different, so checking spelling is recommended. The agency also said to put a cursor on a link before clicking it so that it can show a preview of a website, which may help people to distinguish whether it's an authentic link or not.
There are a lot of programs in web browsers like Chrome where phishing emails are blocked, as there are many cases of cyber attackers impersonating website domains. Using these programs may help you.
The National Intelligence Service also said victims of cyber attacks are now being expanded from national security officials to students and office workers, warning all internet users to be cautious. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. We begin in Guam, where thousands of travelers have been stranded after a Category 4 typhoon struck the U.S. island territory. Flights to and from Guam have been cancelled in the wake of Typhoon Mawar's arrival, as its international airport has been flooded. At least 3,000 South Korean tourists are currently unable to return home. Making landfall on Wednesday local time, the typhoon brought rain, 9-meter-high waves, and winds of up to 225 kilometers per hour. The storm overturned cars, ripped off roofs, and left tens of thousands of homes without power. It is the first Category 4 typhoon to hit Guam in 20 years. The storm is now headed toward the Philippines and has grown into a Category 5 storm. Moving on to South Africa, where a fugitive on the run for over 20 years for his alleged role in the 1994 Rwandan genocide has been arrested. According to United Nations prosecutors, Fulgence Kayashima was apprehended in the town of Paarl on Wednesday local time. He will be extradited to Rwanda, where he will face trial. In 2001, Kayashima fled the country after he was charged for planning and carrying out the killing of over 2,000 ethnic Tutsis, hiding inside a Catholic church. It's said that he and others first tried to burn the church with the people inside. They then reportedly bulldozed it when the church failed to catch fire and buried the bodies in mass graves. The 1994 Rwanda genocide occurred during the civil war in the country and saw around 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus killed by armed Hutu militias. Turning over to the United States, the founder of the Oath Keepers militia group has been sentenced to 18 years in prison. This for his role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol in 2021, meant to stop the presidential transfer of power after former U.S. President Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. Stuart Rhodes was handed the sentence on Thursday in a Washington federal court after being found guilty of seditious conspiracy. The charges included his recruitment of new members and the collection of weapons at a nearby hotel during the attack to arm a so-called quick reaction force. And finally, a Nepalese Sherpa has scaled the world's tallest mountain for a record 28th time. 53-year-old Kami Rita was given a hero's welcome in the Nepalese capital of Kathmandu on Thursday after successfully scaling the mountain's summit on Tuesday. It was his second climb up the 8,849-meter tall mountain in just a week. Rita first climbed Mount Everest in 1994 and has climbed almost every year since. This comes just a week after a new record for the most ascents by a foreigner was set at 17 by British climber Kenton Cool. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It has been a sunny week, and now we have frequent rain in the forecast through the holiday weekend. Passing rain is in the forecast from this afternoon into the evening, along with thunder and lightning. But the rest of the country is under lots of clouds, and top temperatures are similar to just a few notches lower than yesterday. Air quality will be normal to good nationwide all day today. Now, we had a wet Children's Day weekend 3 weeks ago, and I hate to disappoint you, but this upcoming 3-day weekend, Saturday marking Buddha's birthday, looks to be a rainy one as well. On Sunday, it looks like heavy rain in central regions, and it will pour down in the south on Monday, which is a substitute holiday. Take the weather into account if you are planning outdoor activities. Now, that rain continues in the south until next Tuesday, but the sunshine returns to the central regions with warmer temperatures. Now, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
And on that note, we end Friday's afternoon newscast. We have our panel session coming up right after this break, so do stay with us. Thank you for now.